It doesn't really coincide with the aerodynamics of a regular airplane.
Honestly, my skin is tingling from this.
And if we harness its awesome power, will we suddenly make the giant leap from citizens of Earth to citizens of the universe?
If you can manipulate time and space through some type of an element, you can do anything you want.
There is a doorway in the universe. Beyond it is the promise of truth. It demands we question everything we have ever been taught. The evidence is all around us. The future is right before our eyes. We are not alone. We have never been alone. The Kapustin Yar incident allegedly took place within a year of the famous Roswell event. Both the CIA and the Soviet MGB intelligence agency took interest in what might have crashed and been retrieved in enemy territory.
You had American agents trying to find out what were the objects flying over the Soviet Union. At the same time, you had the Roswell incident in the United States. I can tell you that Stalin was very much interested, and he had espionage information delivered by his agents to him. We have proof of that. And he questioned Soviet academicians about the veracity of UFO threat to his country.
If stories of UFO crashes and retrievals in both the United States and the Soviet Union are true, could it have led to a collaboration between the world's only two superpowers? And considering the fact that the alleged incidents took place within a year of each other, might it have been part of an extraterrestrial agenda?
If there's a motivation of aliens or extraterrestrials in bringing these two superpowers together, it's to wake us up to recognize that, hey, once we get past all the artificial lines and borders on our planet and get out into space, that is the hope and promise of this collaboration.
If extraterrestrial spacecraft were purposely crashed in both the United States and the Soviet Union more than 70 years ago, has the study of them led to technological breakthroughs that have been kept hidden from the public? And where have these alien visitors been during the 7 decades that have passed? Ancient astronaut theorists believe they have been here all along, and that recent events suggest they are ready to make their presence known to humanity once again. November 14th, 2004. 100 miles off the coast of Southern California. Fighter pilots with the USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group engage incoming unidentified flying craft.
Oh my gosh, dude. Wow. Look at it fly.
11 years later, in 2015, US fighter pilots engage yet another UFO.
Look at that thing, dude. Well, if there's, look at that thing. It's rotating.
The accompanying report revealed fighter pilot accounts of the craft descending from altitudes of 60,000 feet to 50 feet in a matter of seconds, hovering or staying stationary on radar for short times, departing at high velocities and turn rates, and even cloaking. The release of what became known as the gimbal video was one of the most significant disclosures of government encounters with UFOs.
In the description, you're talking about maneuvers that would literally crush the spacecraft and kill any occupant. The only way you can circumvent that is if there's some sort of inertia dampening field around the craft itself, and that is, as far as we know, a technology that doesn't yet exist on this planet.
My gosh.
Reminiscent of the sport model Bob Lazar claims to have worked on at Area 51 S4, some of the crafts described in the DoD report were smooth, with no edges, uniformly colored with no nacelles, pylons, or wings, and were approximately 46 feet in length. According to Lazar, at the core of its design was a nuclear reactor powered by element 115.
Element 115 was what we would call the fuel, what provided the power for the reactor to work. Element 115 affects gravity. Element 115 produces its own gravitational energy. The resulting gravity wave creates a distortion in front of it, allowing the craft to slide forward. And that's how it proceeds.
Although Lazar is adamant that he observed the sport model in flight, skeptics argue that anti-gravity propulsion is the stuff of science fiction. Or is it? Los Angeles, California, March 9th, 2019. Dissatisfied with mainstream scientific analysis of the DoD gimbal video, author and ancient astronaut theorist Mike Barra invited astrophysicist and aerospace engineer Dr. Travis Taylor to participate in an evaluation of the DoD's footage.
Hey.
Hey.
Hollywood visual effects supervisor Sam Edwards.
How you doing, Travis?
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, come on, after you.
This way?
Yeah, perfect. Here's the screening room.
Wow, this is great.
Yeah. Have a seat anywhere.
So, do you think that you and your team could go and recreate a video that looked authentic, like it came from, you know, the F-18 gun camera from, 2004 or whatever?
Listen, I'm in the visual effects business, right? And we don't ever say no.
Right.
Right? But, the joke is about the moon landing is, it must be real because Hollywood would never make something so boring.
Right.
Right?
Good point.
So there's no mediation at all to this image, right? It couldn't be more dull. It's just technically, this is in there and that's in there. There's nobody's artistic vision at all.
That to me is one of the best arguments right there for it. That makes perfect sense.
While there is no way to determine for certain that the video wasn't fabricated, based on what they are seeing, as well as the pilot's eyewitness corroboration, Mike, Travis, and Sam are convinced that the footage is genuine. If true, the implications are profound, as even some military personnel are of the opinion that the maneuvers displayed by the craft in the gimbal video resemble no known man-made technology.
So now the next question is the origin of that advanced propulsion.
Right.
Is it man-made advanced propulsion or is it extraterrestrial?
Let's try to reverse engineer what's there and understand what we're looking at. So yeah, it's air-to-air footage, and I thought that was kind of cool. I stabilized out some of the camera motion so we could kind of get a better feel for its trajectory.
Oh, okay.
Wow, yeah.
That's cool.
That tells us how much it's actually moving.
Which doesn't seem to me to be supersonic or anything like it.
If you look at that, it looks to me like there's structure in a couple of places. Now, we're below it, right? Something right in here, and then something here. The interesting thing here is if you were looking at an SR-71 and it was below you and you're looking down at it, the wings would look sort of disc-shaped like that, and there would be a tail and there would be a nose structure, and these would be your wings.
If that's a wing, then what's going on now? Right? It's still traveling in the same direction.
Yeah.
It looks a lot like a top, doesn't it?
It doesn't really coincide with the aerodynamics of a regular airplane.
You look at fighter pilots, they can roll, they can pitch, they can crab, they can yaw. I mean, they can do all sorts of things to an airplane to make it look unusual.
I hear what you're saying, and we made a CG model, and I kind of hand-tracked it to sort of match its motion so we could kind of get a feel for what some of its dimensions are.
Yeah, it's interesting. If it's looking straight on like your model there, your model matches to it pretty good.
Well, let me show you something else that catches my eye, gentlemen. What seems odd to me, this kind of light that follows behind the craft. There's no such thing as a light source that follows around behind an aircraft.
Right, because it's clearly there now that you pointed. I can't believe I didn't see it before.
Yeah.
If this were just an artifact of the camera technology, I would have expected the halo to have looked slightly different. The fact that there are strange little striations from it that are turning when the vehicle turns, it doesn't look like it's a camera artifact. Sam, until I saw this, I had a completely different opinion of this video.
Oh, nice.
Seeing the video and the analysis that we did today with Sam, it's opened my mind to accept that it's possible that this is a vehicle that might function a lot like the stories that Bob Lazar told. This does have similarities that are uncanny. My skin is tingling from this.
It's rotating.
If the bubble of cold air enveloping the craft in the gimbal video is the same phenomenon exhibited by Bob Lazar's sport model, could it be that the U.S. military has mastered the Element 115 propulsion system?